Okay. With all the respect podcast, we got a special segment coming up. It's called Now You Know. We have 9 questions coming, and they will be answered from Matt Fly, Mo Knows, and Miss Lady Simone. Question number 1 is for Mo. Mo, what inspired you to music?
Music is one of the things I like to tell people is music raised me. Music raised me, but my parents loved me. That's something that I always said. And music is no different. It's a way that people actually express their feelings. And I never was a fan of the TV. It's just always been music. It's something that it's like a soundtrack of someone's life. And I saw a parallel in that. And that goes to the people that I like to listen to. My form of music I like to listen to is substance. So I'm always looking for answers because I've always got questions. So with that being said, that's where I typically gravitate towards music. So when I didn't have let's say a parent there per se, and I had a question for some reason, I'll go towards music. And it was just one of those things that helped molded me as a man, for the better or the worse.
Miss Lady Simone, who is your favorite artist as far as poetic artists that you may know of?
Well, I'll have to say, I guess I'm a little old school, Maya Angelou.
Okay,
and what's very, what brings me so close to her, I remember being in a pageant in high school, and I did a poem of hers, and I had to memorize this poem, and I thought I gave it 110%, and I actually lost in the talent part of that. But one thing with her, it was Phenomenal Woman, and I was
man, that's a beautiful one.
You know, just it's just poetry to me. It's just a way of somebody expressing themselves and somebody just kind of putting their all out. Some people may not understand. You know, the words may not flow in order, or it may not rhyme. And to me, that's the beauty of poetry. It's like I could say how I feel, or you listen to different things. I think Maya Angelou is like, when it comes to that, she expresses herself on a different level, and that's why I just really gravitate towards her.
R.P. Maya Angelou, though, she was one of the greatest poets we ever had, especially from the community. Matt Fly, I have a question for you. What do you care about more than yourself?
What do I care about more than myself? Tons of things. My cars, my clothes, my hoes. I mean, joking. Mainly what I care about more than myself is probably my family and taking care of people that I actually care about, I would say.
All right, Mo. That's a good response, by the way. Mo, back to you. Question number 2 on the round table. What do you envision for yourself in the next 5 years?
Greatness.
Can you go a little bit deeper than greatness? It's very broad.
Absolutely. I feel that my purpose here is to help. I have a story, as all of us do, but the way that I feel that my story is packaged up is to really be a vessel for believing in yourself, going through adversity, going through life, going through the ups and downs. So in 5 years from now, it's, wow, when you say narrow down for greatness, I see being a public figure.
How so?
I mean, I do it on a daily basis already as it is. It's just the fact of the matter, my platform is so limited versus the platform that I actually see that's going to be built for me, that I'm actually building for the future. So just an activist to some extent, a speaker, just all around, just to help, just a platform to where I'm helping people. And I think because I'm always putting people before me, and it's nothing that I set out to do. It's just something that's been bestowed in me. So just just great, be successful. And when I say great or being successful, it has nothing to do with finances, has nothing to do with materialistic items. I think a man should be measured more so by the lives that he touched than it is anything else. And I feel that that's exactly the path that's been laid out for me to do. And it took me some time to actually come to terms with that. And I tell people it's almost like in Lion King, Simba. Simba had a responsibility, and even before he was young, when he was young, he had a responsibility that he wasn't really aware of. But when it came onto his front doorstep, he still didn't want to take responsibility for it until circumstances happened to where he had to do it. So it's like I've always been looking at Pride Mountain, I believe it was called. But at this point right now, I'm ready to walk to the end of that mountain, as I have been doing, taking my steps to the end of that mountain and actually grow and accept what's mine, accept the role and my goal in life and whatever may that be.
All right, Miss Lady Simone. What is something that you want people to know about you that they may not know about you?
One thing that I want people to know is that there's different layers to me. You know, a lot of people box me up as far as like, you know, they only get to see the mom, or they get to see the teacher from daycare, or, you know, the God-fearing person, or, you know, I want people to understand that despite whatever you see, I still love God regardless of if I do my poetry. Because, you know, you have a lot of people who won't box poetry up with this, I guess they put it like a nice girl type thing, and that's not even what I go out to be. It's just that this is how I express myself, you know, and I may say a curse word here or there. That doesn't take me away from anything of who I am. So I just want people to know that, you know, whatever you see of me, I can't change that. This is who I am. Don't think because you never heard me say poetry that this just came about. This is something that was, you know, I had for years, many years, you know. So just because you don't know that part of me, don't just box me in that box when you do see other parts of me. So I just want you to know that, you know, there's many levels to me, and just, you know, despite if you're just meeting a certain part of me, just know I'm the same person.
Oh, that's very interesting. Matt Fly, I have a second round of questions for you. So, me and you go way back. You know, you wrecked my car at one point. You know, we don't hold grudges or nothing like that. But I want to know what is your biggest disappointment, and what did you do to overcome it?
Biggest disappointment, wrecking the Audi.
Oh yeah, that's heartbreaking.
It was.
Yeah, trust me, I know. It was mine.
I appreciate that.
No problem. You wreck this one. Wreck this one.
That's like a threat.
Biggest disappointment, I will probably say, not graduating from my junior college, Spartanburg Methodist. Again, me not just being really focused on grades at that point. I had a full-time job working 40 hours a week. I had a girl. Had little side hustles. Wasn't hurting for anything, so I wasn't quite focused on my grades. And my class that I failed, which was math, which is crazy, which is my favorite topic. But the teacher told me that if you pass the final, you pass the class. So there's no way that I'm going to fail this final. I got this. I failed the final like a 40. Yeah, it's pretty rough. And at that point, I didn't actually graduate from SMC. Then I had to transfer a class back once I transferred to my 4-year school. Shout out to USC, upstate. And that experience, just going through the whole graduation, I literally wasn't even going to go to the graduation at all. But my girlfriend at the time was graduating as well. Still wasn't going to go. But then one of my friends called me and said, "Where are you at?" Thinking that I was literally in the line. I was literally in Greenville just chilling. She was like, "Yo, you coming to graduate?" I was like, "Nah, I'm good." She's like, "You need to come, or you're gonna regret this." I'm sitting on the porch, and I decided to take off and go to graduation. Just me. And then when I got there, walked the stage and everything like that. So it was a good experience to kind of overcome based upon me actually doing it, and then my family actually being there on the inside, because literally everybody's going through. I'm like, they're walking through the tunnel. I see everybody with the balloons and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I'm about to walk right back to my
ceremonies are crazy.
I'm about to walk right back in my car and just go home like nothing happened, like a normal day. My family was outside with the balloons and everything, so it was a great moment there just to kind of overcome. And yeah, I'll probably say that was the most detrimental moment, but I feel like that kind of turned me into a man, and at that point I realized what you feel is the most important thing. You have to go with your gut feeling based upon that. Others may not necessarily agree with what you feel or what the case may be, but at the end of the day, you look yourself in the mirror. If you feel comfortable with decisions that you made, that's all you can stand on.
Great response. Mo knows.
I agree.
You're going to start off on the second round. It's the last one. These are the tougher questions. So I got a question for you. Okay.
Here we go.
A lot of people don't know, and some people do, that at one point you were down bad. And the question is more or less like, what are your goals each and every day to never have to go back in the same light, and to teach people that may not understand how they could overcome certain situations? Almost kind of like to piggyback off what McFly said, but how can you teach people and use your life examples to help further people in their situations that may be in the situation that you were once in?
Number one thing is learn from your mistakes. And if you're always talking, you can't learn anything. A lot of people tend to just want to talk. A lot of people don't want to look at that person in the mirror and face that person and understand that's your biggest hurdle. It doesn't matter who it is. You look that person in the mirror and you call yourself on your own bullshit. And that's what I had to do.
Oh man, you're very, very right.
And with that being said, if you sit there and if you're always a student, that means you can come to a platform where you become a teacher, but when you're a teacher, you need to always be a student, because if you put yourself solely in a teacher's standpoint, you're never able to learn. So the biggest thing is to learn from your mistakes, understand patience, and understand what can you learn from the circumstances that you've been through. And the second part of your question, what am I doing? I'm doing, and it hasn't been a comfortable thing, and I spoke to you many, many days on it, which I'm guessing that's where this question came from.
Oh yeah, I need to bring that up. Like, we're gonna bring that up out.
No, we're not. This is my last question. This is no that's it. So with that being said, you gotta let your light shine. And with that being, in order to let your light shine, you have to be transparent. And a lot of people have an issue with their transparency because they make you think that everything is all good, which is one of the reasons why I wasn't really heavy on Facebook, because it's like it's all X and O's, Hallmark cards, and kisses and hugs and shit. And that's not life. Someone told me before that y'all kids got it messed up. It was an older head. And I said, what do you mean? He said, y'all think life is all good with little bumps and hurdles here. It's the exact opposite. Life is a bunch of bumps and hurdles with little high moments there and here. So with that being said, another thing, man, this question right here, I might take up the whole time on this one.
Go ahead.
Is the fact of the matter, you got to take your losses in the same win that you take your wins in. You know what I'm saying? That's how it goes. You don't sit there when everything is good, oh man, I want to thank God. But when everything is bad, why me? No, you thank God for that as well. Because like I've always said, in order to get where you got to go at, you got to go through a period. It's like boot camp. I always said this. You got to go through boot camp before you go to war. Boot camp is not easy. It's not comfortable. Sometimes, all the time, majority of the time, you're away from your loved ones. So that means you're back at that point where you're looking that person in the face and understand what you really made of, what you really built off of. So what I'm doing is being transparent. Starting this podcast with Lady Simone and Mr. McFly, and there's a lot more to come from me and also from them individually as well. But this is the first point, this is the first mark that I'm setting as far as being transparent, because most people don't know my story. Which part of it?
I think you should tell them.
I mean, I'm going to tell my story when it's ready. When it's you know what I mean? I'm cooking, I'm prepping right now. So it goes back to the fact that most people don't know, but now I'm telling you, Mo knows. So with that being said, it's just me being transparent, me telling my stories, me bearing my wounds, and not really caring or how people are going to interpretate me, or because we all go through shit. You know what I'm saying? We all battle. We're always at war with that person in the mirror, but a lot of people don't want to deal with that. They rather just go, you know what, I'm going to dress it up with this, whatever. Nah. Because when you strip yourself of all that stuff, tattoos, cars, money, clothes, and everything, you're dealt with that bare minimum, that person right there. And a lot of people don't want to face that music. And I came to a point where I had to face that music, and I actually set goals for myself, and I said I'm going to accomplish these goals regardless of whatever happens. Life is constant. BS is going to happen. It's all about your perspective and how you look at it. What can you learn from it? So, long-winded, but that's me, long-winded Mo, but it is what it is, and Mo knows.
Great question, great answer. Miss Lady Simone, as a woman that has African American kids and that has a African American husband, like, what are the biggest challenges do you think as a woman that us as a whole community / culture deals with that could be addressed, that we can do better or we could stop doing it all from a woman's perspective?
Well, I would have to say one thing that I see that bothers me within our, I don't know, should I say culture, community, whatever, is that we kind of put an emphasis on the things that are materialistic. We don't, one thing that I talk to a lot of people about and have conversations over and over with people is we don't communicate. And I think that's something that's missing, and that's it draws a line to where our babies don't have somebody to communicate. Even husband and wives don't communicate. So then we have these issues to where when things do happen, we don't know how to handle them because nobody never talked about them. Something that is so prominent within our community is you don't speak about certain things to your parents. You know what I'm saying? I can't go to mom and talk about sex. or I can't go to mom and say certain things. It's like I think we have to cut those things out. We have to have an open line of communication between parents and kids, between just our community in general. You know what I'm saying? We have to be able to talk to each other and see how we're feeling. We have to be able to talk to our kids and make sure that we're pouring the right things into them. And we have to be able to have an open line of communication between husband and wife, because there's a lot of things that could be you can handle a lot of things with just a simple conversation. You know what I'm saying? There's something that can frustrate you with your husband or your wife, and it's just all like, yo, I didn't know I hurt your feelings. It's just something simple as that. So I think one thing as far as within our community that I see all the time, and even within my household, and I have to keep myself grounded on this, is communicate. There's been times where I speak with my husband and he's like, why would you even think that I would hurt your feelings? And to me, it was like, but that's how I felt. But if I never came out to even tell him that's how I feel, we would still have an issue. You know what I'm saying? I would still look at him some type of way, even though knowing I know you love me, but that still doesn't take away from the way I felt. And I think when it comes down to that with our kids, when it comes down to that with just relationship-wise, I always say friendships, I always say partnerships, whatever it is, we have to keep an open line of communication. I think we have to talk to each other. We have to, that heals a lot of things. And that's some wounds that a lot of people leave open because we just don't want to have a simple conversation. And I deal with this at work. And I tell people, you come to me with your issue. Go to the person you got an issue with and just say, simply, you hurt my feelings. We need to talk about this. And there's a lot of things within our community that could be healed from that.
Definitely agree. So, last up, Mr. McFly, the thesis of you being on this podcast, like, what do you want people to know about you from doing this?
I would like people to know that, again, similar to Mo, I have an interesting story, and I'm a very private person. Anyone that knows, I guarantee, I tell people all the time, it's going to come to a certain point in time to try to piece together the story. It's going to take at least 30 people. No one person knows half the story. So I would like to try from this to try to give them a little more of the details there, a little bit more of that things that I went through, the hope that they can actually learn from. And that there's a lot of nuance to life. Everything's not just this or just that. Everything's kind of situation based, and different people go through different things. They don't judge anyone based off of their age or their color, their height, where they're from, anything like that. Sit down and have a conversation with someone, and that you can literally learn something from anyone, regardless of what their age or how you may feel that they feel about themselves. Just talk to people.
That's very true. They say you can learn a lot from a fool. But to wrap that up, that's the 9 for 9. With all due respect, that's the quick top 9. Now you know. And catch you guys later with another segment.